Well, the Lumezi by-elections are going on as planned. So you can see the UPND just says Maukabanji, Maukaudi, Alumezi. So simply giving a signal to say, as earlier announced by ECZ, to say the by-elections could not be postponed based of the national mourning that the nation was going through, because our constitution does not allow for that. By-elections are supposed to be held 90 days after the seat falls vacant. So there was no possibility for these by-elections to be cancelled or postponed. So the UPND simply saying everyone in Lumezi there should be alert. Same thing with the opposition. So new Congress party leader Peter Chanda has expressed confidence in winning the upcoming Lumezi by-election, stating that the party already has a sympathy vote from the electorate, as according to the news diggers. So as you may be aware, sympathy vote obviously relating to the passing of Edgar Chagalungu and also the incarceration of the independent member of parliament, Munia Zulu. But the saga from South Africa brings more twists and turns. So Edgar Chagalungu, South Africa burial on Wednesday, they ask a question, because all signs are leading to that. From the look of things, you'll see why they asked that question. That's in the Daily Nation. Seems like because the number of flights that have just happened today going to South Africa is giving signals to say most likely Wednesday has been officially announced. Even the South African government said something about it. And then the UPND says burial permit has not been granted because the one who requested for it has no legal standing in that country. They are still negotiating. That's according to the UPND, saying no, the burial permit wasn't given in South Africa. It could be just politics, but anyway, they put up that statement. And then these images started showing. So this was posted by Binu Mpundunkana, member of parliament, when he just landed in South Africa, and then comforting Tasila Lungu, the daughter to the late President Edgar Chagalungu there. This was in Johannesburg. So Binu put up those images of the interaction with Tasila Lungu and probably the rest of the family. And he was also congratulating her for being strong for her dad. And because she stood with her dad during the booing at the stadium. That's what the caption read. And I'll try to find it and put it as we do this broadcast. And then obviously people commenting on the interaction with the South African government with the president yesterday says, you don't have to be smart to know that Hakainde Hichilema has only restated his government's position and desire for Edgar Chagalungu to be buried home. He has not provided any direction. He has not secured the repatriation of the remains of Edgar Chagalungu. This he was referring to the interaction between the South African government. The inquiry that was sent by Cyril Ramaphosa to come and negotiate with the Zambian government to see if there was any changes, to which the president simply restated to say the remains of the late president Edgar Chagalungu were supposed to be brought back home. So now you're simply saying the differences were where there are contentious issues, they did not address them. Neither did the South African party state anything. But as of this morning, the other children of Edgar Chagalungu have joined the family. So as you may be aware, in South Africa, it was only the First Lady Esther Lungu and Tasila Lungu, the Chawama member of parliament. The other children were still in Zambia, obviously, as the government and the family was negotiating. They were hoping to say probably they will come to an agreement and then the body of their late father will be brought to the country. So they didn't see the need for them to travel to South Africa. But as of yesterday, it seems like the agreement wasn't coming and no one was budging. The government wasn't moving, and the family also, their conditions, they're not changing their conditions. So the other children have flown to South Africa. So according to the caption, here it says, Vanava Chagwa, Tasila Lungu and Chieso at a house of mourning in Johannesburg, South Africa. So those images start circulating. So the other children and the rest of the family have also joined Tasila and First Lady in South Africa. And a bunch of people have, there have been flights from here to South Africa today. I'll show you if time allows. And then Simon also, my reaction to KBF and the burial of Edgar Chagalungu on Wednesday in South Africa. Seems like Wednesday is confirmed. Yes, it's in the grapevine. The family hasn't officially announced it, but it seems like the number of flights that have just happened today going to South Africa, the number of people that have flown, and I'm pretty sure tomorrow, even right now as I'm talking, I'm pretty sure there are some flights taking place. You will see the pictures as time goes by. But a good portion of Zambians have flown to South Africa. Since they've said it's a private event, mostly, I would say, All PF members of parliament are already in South Africa up to now, but I'll show you. Then Sheshua weighed in based off the interaction between the Zambian government and the South African government. So Shua says, I understand the desperation to change the narrative by Hichilema. Should have been, by Hichilema, but Hichilema should have told the public what the South African Minister of International Relations and Cooperation said in the meeting. The truth is that the issue of Edgar Chagwa funeral is not diplomatic. It's a family matter on which the family is on has the final say. The law in South Africa is on the family's side, and the country's leaders respect, and that country's leaders respect the law. In addition, the fact that it is a society where institutions work independently, there is little that Zambia or South Africa can do. It is a pity because many, including myself, praised Hichilema when he finally showed a rare leadership on this issue last week, but it did not take long before he deviated from the agreements and the guarantees that the two parties had already given each other for the betterment of Zambia. The hard reality and uncomfortable truth is that Edgar Lungu is being buried in a foreign country because Hichilema's tragic failure of leadership that I demonstrated in the SABC interview. So he had an interview with the South African Broadcasting Corporation, and that's where he said all that. He was quoting himself. And obviously images of First Lady, she broke down today. Anyway, I'll show you the video of what happened. She really broke down today. It was sad. So Hakainde Hichilema made a mistake by not telling Zambians about the death of Edgar Chagwa within 2 hours of its occurrence. That's KBF. Obviously, people just weighing in. So that's his opinion. But as you can see, the grave was already being prepared. It's pretty much done now. I'll show you images of that. Mao Sampa says, it looks and sounds desperate. Unfortunately for him, the decision can only be made by the same people his minister and Minister of Information and cadres continue to disrespect the family. That's Mao Sampa. So those are the images coming from the gravesite that has been prepared for the 60th Republican President, Edgar Chagwa. So far, they haven't built anything else, but that's as far as it's gone. Pretty much it's done. Just waiting for an agreement, if possible, for the remains to be placed there. But from the look of things, Mao Samba goes further to say, Mama, give us a signal. Those who said they were tired and cancelled national mourning are here, and they have failed to move on. So that's Mao Samba there, Material Member of Parliament. And then obviously, Cecilia Lungu, the First Lady, goes further. This is still Mao Samba. Agony is one thinking he has powers to tell family what vegetables or radish to have for lunch or church to attend and where to bury one of theirs. Zambia is not a personal house. That's Mao Samba. He was on a run today. So those are the images from Embassy Park. And then Chief Etari also weighs in to say, there will be no closure until Edgar Chagwa is buried in Zambia. And political vouchers want to use that for their campaign. Wait for me at 10 hours. That's an announcement said. And that's a fact, because in as much as the national mourning was cancelled a couple of days ago, the situation and in the country, this is a conversation in the country. Everything else is going by the sideline. The by-elections in Lumezi are really not making the news, but the conversation is focused on Edgar Chagwa. So Chief Etari says that's what the opposition is trying to capitalize on, to say, if the remains of Edgar Chagwa stay in South Africa, this conversation is going to be persistent in the nation, and they're going to utilize that. And then before you make conclusions, you hear from both sides. So, and then they share images of the South African minister interacting with both President Hakainde Hichilema and the family, where he was trying to find an amicable solution to both of them, and they couldn't come to an agreement. So the movie TV simply says, you're simply doing his job. And then SA is a country run by a rule of law and not a dictatorial tight fist those in power. I am very sure they are aware that no law in South Africa supports them to bully the Edgar Chagwa family wishes, and they will not. So that's Mao Sampai. He was on a rampage. And South Africa really has found itself on a tightrope. Yesterday, it clearly stated to say they wished Edgar Chagwa could be buried in his home country, Zambia. But if the Zambian government and the Lungu family cannot come into an agreement, there is nothing that South Africa can do. It has to, obviously, it cannot, as I say, let me play you the video of what the minister says, because the video was shared of what the minister had interacted with the Lungu family in South Africa. Just stand by, let me play you that video of what he said. So stand by.
Once it goes to the situation where the family has to decide, really, we can't force anyone. Yeah. So we have been very clear that we can't force anyone. Government to government, and we are supporting what is happening between the family and the Zambian government. That is our hope. But once it goes to the situation where the family has to decide, really, we can't force anyone. Yeah. So we have been very clear that we can't force anyone.
So this is the interaction that the minister had with the family before coming to Zambia, where he was simply saying, if they can't come to an agreement, South Africa cannot force the Zambian government, neither can it force the Lungu family. So South Africa is caught in between this, and then they just have to, obviously, they cannot deport the Lungu family at this point or infringe on their rights. The history between Zambia and South Africa is too strong. Like really, Zambia has never called on South Africa for any favors. In as much as Zambia has done a lot for South Africa. So this is the first favor, really, that is notable, that you can say Zambians are calling on South Africa to say, do us something. Because everyone knows Edgar Lungu's body eventually is going to come back to Zambia. After how long, nobody knows. But the fact is that both sides of the aisle, in as much as people are still debating who should be there and know what those minor agreements, but the fact is that all Zambians on both sides want the body to be brought back to Zambia. The major difference is that the family does not want the incumbent President Hakainde Hichilema to be present. That's where the tussle is, really. So South Africa knows that the body is just in their country for a temporary period. But this is the first time that Zambia is calling on them for a favor, considering the number of things that Zambia had done for them with KK. The history is known. I will not go down that route, but you know that. So that's what's going on from South Africa. And then we cannot force Edgar Chagwa family to repatriate his remains South Africa. So that's the position, as you heard in that video that I played you from that minister who was in the country just a couple of hours ago, yesterday, when he was interacting with President Hakainde Hichilema. So yeah, South Africa is caught in between this, and there's nothing that they can do. And then there's another video that has caught the eye of the nation and broke down. So most of the time, okay, we're watching Mama Esther break down after seeing Archbishop. All emotions poured out once. It's like she saw her husband Edgar Chagwa and believed what Edgar Chagwa wanted the Archbishop to preside over his funeral. She just completely broke down. So the former First Lady has been very composed throughout this. Like every time people visit her at a funeral house in South Africa, she's very composed. Yes, she's mourning, she's very composed. But today, when she saw Archbishop Banda, let me just play you the video. It was heartbreaking. Just stand by, let me play you that video of what happened when she saw the Archbishop in South Africa. And now, considering the number of Zambians that are flying to South Africa right now to attend the private burial, I'm pretty sure we're going to see more images of the former First Lady crying like that, because she's going to remember everyone that was close to the late president. And once she sees them, like she saw the Archbishop there, she completely lost it. She could not hold the emotion, really. So it's that video that has been trending that has people talking to say if there's something that can happen to have the president brought back, the former president brought back here, let that agreement be reached. But yeah, so that's what happened. And then the South African government has also spoken. So they waited for, this was posted just a couple of hours ago. They probably were hoping for the Zambian government to probably put up a statement to say they will follow the wishes of the family and have the body repatriated. So this statement was just posted, should have been around 17, if not 18 thereabout. You can tell they waited for the end of the day. Probably they were expecting on the Zambian government to speak, but there was nothing has come out from the Zambian side. So this is what South Africa said. While the state funeral would have been appropriate tribute for the legacy of the late former Zambian president, Edgar Lungu, South Africa has acknowledged the legal obligation to respect the wishes expressed by former president's immediate family for him to be led to rest in South Africa. So this is according to South African government official statement they put up. They waited until the end of the day, but probably they were hopeful probably to hear from the Zambian side, nothing. And they had to reaffirm the position. And it's that reaffirmation that has made a number of Zambians now book flights, those that are invited anyway, or those that are aware of where the event is going to take place. Stuff like there have been a number of flights here. I mean, this morning, and I'm pretty sure by the end of tomorrow, Tuesday, if indeed his remains are going to be put to rest on Wednesday, there are more Zambians will fly out. But yeah, so South Africa has confirmed to say, yes, Edgar Lungu's remains will be buried in South Africa. Location probably is the preview of the family, and the details will be announced. But as things stand, South Africa has finally confirmed to say, yes, they've granted that. They are genuinely hoping for Zambian government to speak, probably to say they'll follow the family's thing, but to no avail. So hence that statement coming from South Africa, the official government website there, as you can see, including their online social media platforms. Anyway, I'll show you the other part as time goes by. Let me just end this broadcast here. That's the news, ladies and gentlemen.